3:22 a.m. Michael Chun is awake. Again, for the 847th night in a row. In 2 hours, he'll put on his turnout gear and respond to whatever emergencies his city needs him for. He'll run into burning buildings while everyone else runs out. He'll save lives, rescue victims, be the hero everyone expects firefighters to be. But right now, he's trapped in a different kind of fire. One that happened 3 years, 2 months, and 17 days ago. One that no amount of water can extinguish. Michael Chun has been a firefighter for 19 years. He's rescued 127 people from fires, car accidents, and collapsed buildings. He's been decorated, commended, and called a hero more times than he can count. But there's one call he couldn't save anyone from. One call that plays on repeat every night at 3:22 a.m. One call that turned him from a fearless firefighter into a man who can't sleep without seeing flames. This is the story of the decorated firefighter who runs into burning buildings by day and runs from his own mind by night, and why the bravest among us sometimes carry the heaviest invisible wounds. Meet Michael Chun, 42 years old, captain of Engine Company 14 in a city of 600,000 people, married to Sarah for 18 years, father to 2 teenagers, Emily and Jake. For 19 years, Michael has worked as a firefighter. He started as a probie fresh out of the academy at 23, worked his way up through the ranks, earned his captain's bars at 37. His station responds to an average of 12 calls per 24-hour shift. Structure fires, car accidents, medical emergencies, hazmat situations, rescue operations. The variety of emergencies that urban fire departments handle every single day. Michael Chun was born for this job, until the job broke something inside him that he's still trying to fix. Fire stations are unique workplaces. Firefighters work 24-hour shifts, living together, eating together, training together. They're crews, teams, families bound by shared danger and absolute trust. Michael's crew has been together for 7 years. They know each other's families, strengths, weaknesses. They've saved lives together, lost lives together, celebrated victories, and mourned losses. Captain Chun is the kind of leader who goes first into danger, last out of emergencies. He's calm under pressure, decisive in chaos, the steady presence that keeps his crew focused when everything is burning. Until 3 years ago, he thought nothing could shake him. Over 19 years, Michael has seen the full spectrum of emergency response. He's pulled people from car wrecks, performed CPR on cardiac arrest victims, fought fires in warehouses and high-rises, rescued children from burning homes. He's been burned, injured, and exposed to dangers most people can't imagine. He's seen death, trauma, and human suffering in ways that would traumatize anyone who isn't trained to compartmentalize and push forward. Michael had always been able to separate the job from his life. He'd come home, hug his kids, kiss his wife, and leave the trauma at the station. That's what firefighters do. That's what the culture teaches. Stay strong. Push through. Be the hero. Then came the Riverside apartment fire. March 15th, 2021, 3:22 a.m. Engine 14 received the call. Structure fire, multi-unit apartment building, multiple occupants trapped. Second alarm already requested. Michael's crew arrived second due. The building was a 3-story apartment complex with 12 units. Flames were visible from 4 second-floor windows. Heavy smoke was pushing from every opening. Witnesses reported people still inside. Families, children, elderly residents. Michael could hear screaming from the second floor. This was the call every firefighter trains for and dreads. A working fire. People trapped. Time running out. Michael led his crew into the building. The smoke was thick, visibility near zero. The heat was intense, even with full protective equipment. They could hear the fire growing above them. Standard protocol, primary search, locate victims, coordinate with other crews for fire attack and ventilation. Michael's crew moved through the first floor, clearing apartments, finding residents and guiding them to safety. Then Michael heard it. A child crying. Second floor. Behind a fire. Every firefighter knows the sound of someone trapped in a burning building. It's the sound that overrides every safety protocol, every risk assessment, every self-preservation instinct. Michael made the decision instantly. He radioed command, reported the sounds, and pushed up the stairs with his partner following. The second floor was fully involved in fire. The hallway was an oven. They moved toward the crying. Apartment 204. The door was hot. Michael forced it open. The apartment was filled with black smoke, flames visible in the back rooms. The crying was coming from a bedroom. Michael crawled through the smoke, following the sound. His air supply was running low. The temperature was past survivable limits. He could feel the floor starting to fail beneath him. He found her, a little girl, maybe 4 years old, huddled in the corner of the bedroom, alive. Michael grabbed the child and started back. His partner had found an elderly woman in another room. They had 2 victims, both alive. The rescue was working. They were 15 feet from the exit when Michael heard the sound that still wakes him at 3:22 a.m. The sound of structure failure. The building was collapsing. Michael shoved the child toward his partner and pushed him toward the door. He tried to follow. The floor gave way. Michael fell through burning floor into the apartment below, landing in the middle of the fire's origin point. Michael spent 6 weeks recovering from second and third degree burns, smoke inhalation, and a fractured ankle. The child and the elderly woman survived. His partner made it out safely. The building was a total loss, but everyone got out alive. Michael was called a hero. He received commendations, media coverage, recognition from the mayor. His department held a ceremony honoring his bravery. While everyone was celebrating his heroism, Michael was lying awake at 3:22 a.m. every night, feeling the floor collapse beneath him over and over again. Nobody told him that saving people could break you. Michael returned to duty 6 months after the fire. Physically, he was cleared. Mentally, he convinced the department psychologist he was ready. The truth was more complicated. Every structure fire triggered panic. Every time he entered a burning building, his body remembered falling through that floor. Every child's voice made him think of the little girl he'd saved while nearly dying himself. But firefighters don't quit. They don't show weakness. The culture is built on strength, courage, pushing through fear. Michael was a captain. He had a crew depending on him. He couldn't let them see him struggling. So he did what many first responders do. He pretended he was fine while drowning internally. At work, Michael was still Captain Chun. Competent, brave, reliable. He responded to calls, made decisions, saved lives. His crew didn't know he had panic attacks before entering buildings. They didn't see his hands shake when he heard sirens outside the station. At home, Sarah watched her husband disappear. Michael was physically present but emotionally absent. He flinched at sudden noises. He couldn't watch action movies with the kids because fire scenes triggered him. He slept maybe 3 hours a night. "You should talk to someone," Sarah suggested gently. "Maybe see the department counselor." "I'm fine," Michael said. The lie that first responders tell themselves and everyone else. He wasn't fine. He was drowning. But admitting that felt like admitting he couldn't do the job anymore. 3:22 a.m. The exact time the floor collapsed. Michael wakes at this time every night. Sometimes from nightmares so vivid he can smell the smoke. Sometimes from panic attacks that leave him gasping for air in his own bedroom. He's tried sleeping pills. They don't stop the dreams. He's tried staying up late, hoping exhaustion will override the trauma. His body still wakes at 3:22. Over 847 nights, Michael has relived the Riverside fire thousands of times. Each replay as vivid as the original. The heat, the fear, the moment of falling, the certainty he was going to die. Post-traumatic stress disorder doesn't care that you saved lives. It doesn't care that you're a hero. It just keeps playing the trauma on repeat until you either deal with it or it destroys you. 2 years after the fire, Michael's marriage was fracturing. His kids were scared of their dad's mood swings. His crew was noticing mistakes, hesitations, the cracks in Captain Chen's armor. Emily was 16 when she finally confronted him. "Dad, we know you're not okay. We know something's wrong. Why won't you get help?" Michael looked at his daughter and saw the same fear he'd seen in that little girl's eyes in apartment 204. The realization hit him. He'd saved a child from a fire, but was losing his own children to something equally destructive. That night, Michael made the hardest decision of his career. He asked for help. Michael's department had resources he'd never used. A peer support program, a psychologist who specialized in first responder PTSD, a critical incident stress management team. In his first therapy session, Michael cried for the first time since the fire. He talked about the fear he'd never acknowledged, the guilt he carried for surviving when he felt he didn't deserve to, the shame of being a firefighter who was afraid of fires. His therapist explained what Michael didn't know. PTSD isn't weakness. It's a normal response to abnormal trauma. It's what happens when your brain tries to protect you from danger by making you hypervigilant to anything resembling that danger. Michael wasn't broken. He was injured. And like any injury, PTSD could be treated. The peer support group changed everything. Michael met other firefighters dealing with PTSD. Some from fires, some from child deaths, some from calls decades old that still haunted them. They shared strategies for managing triggers. They talked about the culture of silence around mental health in emergency services. They supported each other through the shame and stigma. Michael learned he wasn't the only firefighter having panic attacks. He wasn't the only one lying awake reliving calls. He wasn't weak or broken or alone. The firefighters sitting in that room were some of the bravest people Michael knew, and they were all dealing with PTSD. Recovery from PTSD isn't linear. Michael had good days and bad days. Some nights he still woke at 3:22 a.m. Some calls still triggered panic. But therapy gave him tools. Cognitive processing therapy helped him reframe the trauma. EMDR treatments reduced the intensity of his flashbacks. Medication helped regulate his sleep and anxiety. Slowly, Michael started sleeping more, engaging with his family, enjoying things he'd shut down. The nightmares became less frequent, the panic attacks less intense. Michael wasn't cured, but he was healing, and learning that healing is enough. Today, Michael is still captain of Engine 14. He still runs into burning buildings. He still saves lives. He's still the leader his crew depends on. But now he's also the captain who talks openly about mental health, who tells his crew that asking for help is strength, not weakness, who makes sure every firefighter in his station knows about available resources. Michael shares his story at recruit academy graduations. He trains new captains on recognizing PTSD in their crews. He's become an advocate for changing the culture that told him to suffer in silence. The decorated firefighter who couldn't escape his nightmares is now helping other first responders find their way out of the dark. Michael still has PTSD. That doesn't go away completely. He manages it like any chronic condition, with treatment, awareness, and self-care. Some mornings are harder than others. Some calls are more triggering. But Michael has a support system now. He has therapy appointments. He has his peer group. He has a family that understands what he's going through. Most importantly, he has something he didn't have 3 years ago. Hope. Not for being cured, but for living fully despite the trauma. Michael Chun is still a hero. Not just for the 127 people he's rescued, but for having the courage to rescue himself. Right now, approximately 320,000 firefighters work in the United States. Studies show that nearly 30% of them will experience PTSD at some point in their careers. That's 96,000 firefighters carrying invisible wounds from the calls they respond to, the lives they couldn't save, the trauma that they've absorbed while protecting others. Add in police officers, paramedics, EMTs, and other first responders, and you're looking at hundreds of thousands of people dealing with PTSD while continuing to save lives every day. And most of them suffer in silence because the culture tells them heroes don't ask for help. First responders are at significantly higher risk for PTSD than the general population. They're also at higher risk for suicide, substance abuse, divorce, and burnout. Firefighters have a suicide rate nearly 3 times higher than the national average. More firefighters die by suicide than die in the line of duty. These aren't statistics. They're people like Michael, brave, dedicated, committed to saving others, while their own mental health deteriorates because asking for help feels like admitting weakness. But asking for help isn't weakness. It's the bravest thing a first responder can do. The culture is changing. Slowly. Fire departments are implementing peer support programs, mental health resources, and critical incident stress debriefings. Some departments now require counseling after traumatic calls. First responders are starting to talk about PTSD, depression, and anxiety. They're sharing their stories, supporting each other, and breaking down the stigma that's killed too many of their colleagues. But there's still work to do. Still departments where seeking mental health treatment can impact your career. Still cultures where toughing it out is valued more than healing. Still too many first responders suffering alone because they think they're the only ones who can't handle the job. When I asked Michael what he wants other first responders to know about PTSD, his answer could save lives. PTSD doesn't mean you're weak, he said. It means you're human. It means you've experienced trauma that would break anyone. The job exposes us to things most people never see, and expecting to just handle it without consequences isn't realistic. Getting help isn't giving up. It's recognizing that you can't pour from an empty cup, that you can't save others if you're drowning yourself. I'm still a firefighter. I still save lives. But now I'm also saving my own life by managing my PTSD. And that doesn't make me less of a hero. It makes me a healthier one. If Michael's story opened your eyes to the hidden wounds first responders carry, share it with someone who needs to understand that PTSD isn't weakness. It's a normal response to abnormal trauma. If you know a firefighter, paramedic, or first responder, ask them how they're really doing. Let them know that mental health struggles don't diminish their heroism. Support them in seeking help if they need it. And if you are a first responder dealing with PTSD, remember Michael's words. You're not broken. You're injured. And like any injury, PTSD can be treated. Asking for help isn't weakness. It's the same courage you show every day when you run toward danger to help others. You deserve the same care and support you provide to everyone else. Your mental health matters as much as your physical health. You are not alone. Remember, the bravest thing a hero can do isn't running into a burning building. Sometimes it's asking for help when the fire is inside your own mind. First responders who save lives deserve support for their own mental health. They run toward danger for us. The least we can do is be there for them when the danger is in their own thoughts. Subscribe to The Quiet Brave for more stories about the real costs of heroism and the courage it takes to heal. Hit the notification bell so you never miss stories about the invisible struggles of those who serve.